The Galactic Council had seen many strange species, tall ones, short ones, beasts with wings, brains without bodies, but none of them were like the humans. At first, the Council had ignored Earth, a small blue planet with loud people and strange emotions, but somehow Earth survived every test. They didn't just survive. They grew. Fast. Too fast. Now Earth had been invited to speak at the Grand Council, the highest place of peace in the galaxy. Everyone expected the human to be peaceful, soft-spoken, and friendly. They were wrong. Arrival of the human. The council chamber was quiet when the human arrived. His name was Elias Kor. He walked slowly, calmly into the hall. No guards, no weapon, just a black suit and a silver pin shaped like Earth. But the moment he stepped in, something changed. The air felt colder. One of the diplomats from the gentle Nilari race whispered, "Why does it feel like a beast just walked in?" Elias smiled at them. Not a warm smile, not a polite smile, a smile that showed teeth. The first words. He stood in front of the massive council table, where leaders of 32 star systems sat. Elias looked around, slowly, carefully, like he was scanning the room. Then he spoke. "Thank you for welcoming Earth," he said in a smooth voice. "We hope for peace, for understanding, for connection." His words were calm, polite, even friendly. But no one smiled back, because something felt off. The way he looked at people, like he was reading them. No, worse, like he was hunting. The nervous council. After the meeting, council members gathered in private. "I don't trust him," said Minister Growth of the Boruan race. "He talks like a friend, but I felt like prey." "I watched his eyes," said Lyamur of the Nilari. "He wasn't listening. He was measuring us." The council laughed nervously. "Maybe it's just human behavior," one said. "Maybe you're scared of their teeth," another joked. But deep inside, each of them felt the same. Uncomfortable. Watched. Studied. Disappearance. That night, one of the younger council aides, a reptilian creature named Freck, went to speak with Elias. He said he wanted to learn more about humans. He never returned. His communicator was found, crushed underfoot. Security searched the whole station. No sign of Freck. No sign of Elias either. Then, 2 hours later, Elias appeared at the Diplomats' lounge. Calm. Relaxed. Drinking tea. "I heard there's been trouble," he said kindly. "Let me know if I can help." No one could ask questions. No one had the courage. Old warnings. One of the elder historians on the council, an old tentacled being named Vul, opened an ancient file that night. It was a restricted report from 200 years ago. Title: First Contact, Human Survivors of Death World Terra. The file spoke of early explorers who found human colonies on deadly planets, places with lava storms, giant predators, and toxic air. Those humans didn't just survive. They thrived. They didn't run from monsters. They hunted them. Vul shivered. He closed the file. "We made a mistake," he whispered to no one. End of the first day. Back in his private room, Elias stood by the large window, watching the stars. His face was calm. But in his eyes, there was no peace. Only calculation. Only quiet power. He pressed a small device and whispered, "Day 1 complete." "They're already afraid." From the shadows, a second voice replied, "They should be." The Galactic Council tried to continue with normal business. But after the first meeting with the human diplomat, Elias Kor, nothing felt normal anymore. Something was wrong. It wasn't just what he said. It was how he made them feel. Cold. Watched. Small. As more days passed, that feeling only grew stronger. Surveillance footage. Security teams were ordered to quietly monitor Elias. He was a guest, yes, but he wasn't trusted. The first thing they noticed. He didn't sleep. Every species needed rest. Even machines needed time to recharge. But Elias stayed awake through the night. The cameras showed him walking the halls alone, calm, silent. His footsteps were slow, controlled. He would pause at each doorway, sometimes for several minutes, as if he were listening through the walls. Then he would move on. Security Chief Ratek watched the recordings with narrowed eyes. "He walks like a stalker," he said, "not a diplomat." The frightened diplomat. On the third day, the scarred diplomat, a large armored creature named Juler, agreed to have a private talk with Elias. Juler was known for his bravery. He had once fought a space beast with his bare claws. He wasn't afraid of anything. But when Juler came out of the meeting, his face was pale. His voice shook. "What did he say?" someone asked. Juler blinked slowly. "Nothing. Wrong." He was polite. Too polite. "Then why are you shaking?" Juler looked at his claws. "He stared at my hands the whole time," he whispered, like he was deciding how to break them. The rumors begin. Word spread across the station. "Don't make eye contact with the human. Don't be alone near him. He can smell fear." Some believed it. Some laughed. But even those who laughed avoided Elias in the halls. The feeling wasn't just fear. It was instinct. Old, deep fear, the kind every prey animal feels when a predator is near. Even species with no mouths, creatures made of gas or light, felt it. One alien said, "I have no skin, no nerves, no eyes." And I still felt his gaze. The old records return. Elder Vool, the tentacled historian, had not stopped reading. He opened more restricted files about humanity, hidden ones, buried deep in the Council's system. What he found shook him. One report spoke of a human rescue team on a lost planet. The planet was full of wild beasts. The team had no weapons, but they built spears, fire, and traps. Within 72 hours, they had turned from victims to apex predators, top of the food chain. Another file showed a human battlefield strategy called feigned weakness. Pretend to be weak, let the enemy feel safe, then strike hard when they least expect it. Vool leaned back in his chair and whispered, "They're not here to be peaceful. They're here to learn about us." Strange tech. Meanwhile, engineers on the Council station were confused. Their scanning equipment had picked up something strange around Elias. It was a field, not a shield, not a weapon, but something new. It changed frequencies as people got close. "What does it do?" one technician asked. The chief engineer shook his head. "I don't know, but I think it listens." To what? To us. The humans smile. One evening, Elias joined a casual dinner hosted by the Nilari. The Nilari were peaceful beings. They loved art, music, and soft lights. They served their food, shared their stories, played calming sounds from their homeworld. Elias smiled and listened. Then one Nilari asked, "Tell us about Earth. What do humans value most?" Elias put down his fork. He looked around the table. His smile grew wider. And he said, "We value survival, strength, and knowing exactly what scares our enemies." The room went silent. The music stopped. No one finished their meal. A new fear. After that night, some members of the Council stopped showing up. Others requested to return to their homeworlds. Minister Growth called a private emergency meeting. "We invited the wrong kind of species here," he said. "They're not peaceful. They just know how to act peaceful." Lyamer added, "We thought they wanted diplomacy, but they're watching, studying, preparing." Chief Ratek said, "We should monitor all human ships and keep our fleets ready." But it was already too late. The Predator had walked through the gate, and now the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council was no longer calm. Whispers filled the air. Some members refused to leave their rooms. Others demanded that Elias Kor, the human diplomat, be removed from the station. But no one had proof. No crimes, no threats, just fear. And fear alone wasn't enough. At least, not yet. Missing files. One morning, the Council's security network crashed for 10 minutes. Just 10. When it came back online, 7 classified files were missing. All of them were reports about human behavior in war. Old battles, dark history, black flag missions, things the humans had asked the Council to hide when they first joined. Now those files were gone. Chief Ratek ran an emergency trace. The signal came from the guest quarters, from Elias Kor's room. But when they searched it, nothing. No tech, no data drives, no sign of hacking. Just a clean, empty space. And a message on the wall, carved with something sharp. We don't erase history. We learn from it. The accusation. That same evening, Council Speaker Tulin, a long-limbed being from the peaceful Sherry species, stood up during a general session. He looked at Elias and said clearly, "You're not here to make peace." Elias tilted his head. "I represent Earth," he said calmly. "I am here for peace. Always." Tulin raised his voice. "Then why do you act like a predator? Why do you scare even the bravest among us?" Elias smiled. "Is it my fault your people feel fear?" The room went cold. No one spoke. No one defended Tulin. Because deep down, everyone had asked the same question. A voice from the past. Elder Vool had seen enough. That night, he went on the public network and shared one of the stolen files. He didn't care about rules anymore. The file was a recording, old and shaky, showing human soldiers during a rescue mission. They had landed on a moon where Council diplomats had been kidnapped by pirates. The humans had no backup, no heavy weapons, just knives, ropes, and their own minds. In less than 6 hours, they had taken over the pirate base. The screams were recorded. So were the words of the pirate leader as he was captured. They smiled while killing. They were calm, cold. "I begged for my life." And they nodded, but kept cutting. The galaxy reacts. The video went viral. Billions across the galaxy watched it. Some were shocked. Some were angry. But many were fascinated. "Is this what humans really are?" they asked. "Are they monsters pretending to be friends?" Some called for Earth to be removed from the Council. Others said the Council had made a mistake by trusting them. But a few, a dangerous few, said something different. "If this is true, maybe we need humans. Maybe it's better to have predators on our side." Elias responds. During the next council session, Elias stood up. He didn't smile this time. He didn't try to act polite. He looked around and spoke clearly. "You fear us because you think we wear a mask. You're wrong. We don't wear a mask. We just stopped hiding what we are." He stepped closer to the center of the hall. "You're afraid because we look like you. But we act like something your ancestors ran from." Then he leaned forward. "You didn't invite diplomats. You invited survivors." Final moment. Outside the council hall, Earth's flag now flew alone. No friends, no allies. But the humans didn't seem afraid. They never had. Because while the rest of the galaxy talked about peace, humans had been preparing for something else. Final line. Voiceover style. The truth was out. Humanity didn't come to join the galaxy. They came to test it. The galaxy was on the edge. For the first time in history, members of the Galactic Council were not just debating. They were divided. Some wanted to expel the humans, to remove them from the Council, and isolate Earth. Others, more cautious, wanted to observe, to see if the humans would live up to their reputation or surprise them. But there were those who saw an opportunity. And opportunities in this galaxy were never ignored. A sudden attack. It was a peaceful day, a moment of calm. The council met to discuss the next steps in the growing tension, but the mood shifted quickly. From the outer rim of the station, red warning lights flashed. An alert sounded, vibrating through the halls. Pirates. The technician shouted, eyes wide with panic. They're attacking the station. Immediately, chaos erupted. The pirates, ruthless, unorganized raiders, had never attacked a council station before. They were after supplies, not political targets. Or so everyone thought. Human response. Without hesitation, Elias Corr stood up from his seat. "I'll go," he said, his voice cold. Before anyone could stop him, he was already moving, his pace quick and sure. The guards tried to block him, but Elias simply walked past them, not even acknowledging their presence. "You don't understand," one of the guards warned him. "These pirates, they're not the real threat." Elias cut him off. "I've dealt with worse." His confidence was chilling. He didn't care for the council's rules. He didn't care for the pirates. He only cared about survival. The pirates' surprise. Meanwhile, outside the station, the pirates' attack wasn't going as planned. The pirates, known for their reckless abandon, were firing blasters into the station, trying to break through the shields. But what they didn't know was that they had triggered human protocols. Without warning, dozens of human ships, hidden in the shadows, swarmed into the battle, flanking the pirates from every direction. The pirates, used to dominating weaker forces, were thrown into disarray. One pirate captain shouted in panic. This wasn't part of the deal. But it was too late. Human strategy in action. In minutes, the pirates were surrounded, trapped in a tightening circle. Elias was among the first to board the pirate ship that was closest to the station. He moved swiftly through the corridors, his eyes cold and sharp. "Clear the ship. Leave no survivors." He gave the order through his communicator. The human soldiers followed his commands without question. Some council members, watching from the station's central hub, couldn't believe what they were seeing. The humans weren't just fighting. They were hunting. One pirate, holding a plasma rifle, tried to ambush Elias, but before the pirate could pull the trigger, Elias was already behind him. He grabbed the pirate by the throat, slammed him into the wall, and twisted the rifle out of his hands. "You don't shoot me." Elias's voice was low, his words measured. The pirate, gasping for breath, looked into Elias's eyes. There was no mercy there. A terrifying discovery. The fight ended quickly. The pirate ships disabled, their crew captured or scattered. Elias stood on the bridge of the pirate ship, watching the remaining pirates being rounded up. It was then that the true horror dawned. The pirates weren't after supplies. They had come for one thing. They had come to test human strength. As Elias reviewed the communications from the pirate leader, he found a chilling message. Humanity has been chosen for something greater. The tests will continue until we have what we need. Elias stared at the screen, his face growing darker. They were never here for supplies. His voice was cold, distant. They wanted to see how we fight. The council reacts. Back on the station, the news of the swift victory spread. The council members were shocked. They had seen humanity's power firsthand. The ferocity, the efficiency. But some still couldn't believe it. They had hoped the humans weren't as dangerous as they seemed. Minister Growth spoke up, his voice shaking with uncertainty. "We can't allow this." Elder Vool, however, was quieter. He was studying the evidence. What if this is the answer we've been searching for? The tension was thick. Some saw the humans as untamable beasts, too dangerous to keep close. Others, including a growing group of outliers, saw them as a weapon to be wielded. But in the end, the galaxy was on the verge of making a choice: fight the humans or make them allies. And some weren't sure if there was a difference. Elias's final words. Later that day, Elias addressed the council. His words were simple, yet powerful. "You thought we came here to talk." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "We came here to show you what we can do. And we will do it again, whenever we have to ****. There was no anger in his voice, only a cold certainty. He wasn't threatening. He wasn't begging. He was stating facts. And the galaxy had no choice but to listen. The galaxy stood still. There was no moving forward without a decision, and that decision would change everything. The council had called for an emergency session. Members from every corner of the galaxy gathered, their faces heavy with doubt and fear. On one side, there were those who wanted to expel humanity, to throw them out of the council, and shut them out forever. On the other side, there were those who saw humanity for what they truly were, a force of nature, a predator, a weapon. The room was divided. And then there was Elias Core, alone at the center of it all. The challenge. Elias didn't sit at the table as the other ambassadors did. He stood, his back straight, arms at his sides. He didn't look at anyone directly, but his presence filled the room. "We've shown you who we are," Elias said calmly, his voice cutting through the tense air. "And we've made our choices clear. I fought for Earth, and I will fight for humanity, no matter what you decide." A hush fell over the room. Some faces tightened, some flinched at the words, but none could argue with them. There were no smiles, no promises, just cold, hard truth. But before anyone could respond, the council speaker, Tulin, stood, his tall form casting a shadow over the room. "We don't need another predator among us." His words were harsh, but they carried weight. He stepped forward, eyes narrowing at Elias. "We've seen your true nature. You won't be satisfied until you have control. You'll never be satisfied until every last species kneels before you ****. Elias didn't flinch. "We never asked you to kneel." His words echoed in the silent hall. "We've been offering something you don't understand. Strength, survival, but not just for us, for all of you." The truth unfolds. Elder Vul, the quiet observer, now stepped up. His voice was slow, measured, but everyone in the room heard the tremor of doubt. "What you say is true, Elias. Humanity has survived against all odds. But the galaxy is vast. It's old. Too old for one species to try and dominate it." Elias turned his gaze to Vul, locking eyes. There was no anger in his expression, just a hard truth. "We're not here to dominate." Elias's words hung in the air. "We're here to show you what you've forgotten. The galaxy isn't safe. The universe isn't fair. But together, we could stand against it. Alone, none of us stand a chance. But united, we could be stronger than any force that threatens us ****. The room was still. Some of the council members looked down, their faces filled with hesitation. The galactic collapse. Then, the warning alarms blared again. "Pirates." Came the call, but this time, the pirates were different. This wasn't a small band of raiders. These were organized, well-equipped forces, and they were attacking with purpose. "It's the same group," a council member whispered. "They're coming back to finish what they started." Elias stepped forward, his eyes sharp. "We've been telling you, this is only the beginning. We can't fight them alone. But together, we can." A long silence followed. And then, one by one, council members began to speak. "We can't just watch anymore," said a voice from the Zorkath, one of the oldest and most respected species in the galaxy. "Humanity's right. We need to stand together, or we all fall." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. "Yes," came another voice, this one from the Genfall system. "Humanity isn't a threat. They're a solution." And then, finally, the council speaker, Tulin, stood, his voice weary but resolute. "We have no choice." He met Elias's gaze. "You've shown us your strength, and we've seen your willingness to fight. Maybe it's time we learn how to fight too. Together." The alliance formed. With that, the decision was made. The galaxy was no longer a collection of divided species. The Galactic Defense Alliance was born. Elias Core stood, silently accepting the weight of what had just transpired. He wasn't happy. He wasn't proud. He was alive. Humanity had made it. They had not only survived, but now they would lead. And in the cold depths of space, where silence once ruled, a new sound began to grow. The sound of unity. The sound of a galaxy coming together against all odds.